Hello, everybody. Welcome back from the holiday feast last week. This is Michelle with Moksha Grace Coaching, and I am so glad that you are here today. Glad that you're taking this moment of presence with me. These moments are important. It helps you restart, right? So maybe this morning, the morning part of your day is kind of been like, well, guess what? Now we can take a breath together, which we'll do in just a second. And then you can start your afternoon and start it from a different place, a different energy. So I'm really glad that you're here. And we have a topic today that is fun and is going to shift your perspective a bit on the words that you use. Now, I don't want you to get too in your head about this, but there are going to be some words that we're going to talk about that some you need to ditch out of your vocabulary, and some you can add in, and some you can use in different ways. So you're going to notice that people will respond to you differently when you show up using different words. But we're also going to have a bit of a conversation of what the word you're using and the actions that you're taking, are they aligned? And if not, what's happening there? And how can that be shifted? So before we get into all of that, let's take a moment, right? A moment of presence. So as we do, I want you to take a big deep breath in. I want you to hold it for 3 seconds. 2, 1, exhale. One more breath in, hold it for 3 seconds. Think about your words that you've used today. And then exhale. There's that quote where you have to be mindful of your words, because once they leave your mouth, you can't take them back. Same thing with actions. So we have to be really mindful of the words that we're using. Are they aligned with who we are as a person? Are they presenting us in the light that we want to be presented? So all of that, is important. So for those of you that are new to me, I am a life coach. What does that mean? That means that I help clients move forward. What's the difference between therapy, Michelle? Well, therapy takes a look at your past and kind of brings you back into those moments to sometimes relive them and hash them out and talk about them. Coaching, we don't necessarily do that. No, we always are moving forward. So we may look backwards to look at the experience and what lesson it brings, but then we're going to use that lesson to move forward, always marching forward. What is the specialties? I love working with emotional intelligence, not just how you're relating to other people, but how you're relating to yourself. That's a big one for me. What are your blocks? Who is it that you want to be that you're not being, and why? And really helping you understand yourself and get to know who you are now. I'm all about being present in the moment. You're not who you were when you were a kid. You're not who you were a month ago. You're not who you were this morning. You're different. You've changed. The topic today with words makes me think about when I was in corporate healthcare. And we had a couple words that whenever they were mentioned at a meeting or in front of anybody, really, everyone made a joke that they would see me kind of start, twitching, because there were certain words that to me were not part of my vocabulary. And if anyone is listening that knew me from back then, my biggest one was allow. Allow to me, allowing visitors to visit the patient, allowing a patient to listen in to the doctor's huddle with the nurses and such. The word allow, when it had to do with your own body, your own loved one that was laying in that bed, that word allow just rubbed me really wrong. Now, moving forward in that environment, it's still a bad word to me. But in the world of law of attraction, let's say, allow has a completely different meaning. Allow in the world I'm in now with coaching means to allow yourself to receive, allow everything that you want to come to you. So it's the same word, but yet used completely different and completely different meanings. I will tell you, it took me a long time to bring allow back into my vocabulary. But guess what? That was part of what I had to learn, was how to receive. Because a lot of us can be really good givers, but not always great receivers. So we have to look at the words that we use and the actions that we're taking. What do those words mean? What are they saying? And what we're putting out there. Because then you got to wrap back into, yes, the law of attraction. And we've talked a few times about the universal laws, and that is a big one. So the energy behind words, right? The energy, the law of attraction, that's all about what you put out is what you receive, what you get back. So for instance, I am in pain. Well, are you in pain, or is your back in pain? Is your tooth in pain? And so a way to help you, help your mind, help your heart understand the difference of that would be, I feel pain in my back. My pain is in my back, or the pain is in my back would be even better. So you can always up level the way that you're saying it. And what that does is it helps you separate from the pain, because you're not pain. You don't, your identity isn't pain. And I know those of you that suffer from chronic illness and chronic pain, you're not the pain. Your body is feeling the pain. Now you are responding to the pain. Some people have to take medications. Some people can do stretches, go to the dentist, get a procedure. So you respond to helping your body deal with the pain that that particular part is feeling. But you are not the pain. My daughter is a cancer survivor. We literally just had this conversation. She does not identify as a cancer patient. She is a survivor of cancer. Now, this was years ago when she was 3. She's 27 now. She is a survivor. But here's an interesting piece to that. When she was first diagnosed, 3 days later, and I'm going to give a shout out to Nurse Cheryl. She knows exactly, probably remembers the moment that she said this to me. Krista is here. Yes, she's getting chemo. Yes, she's battling. She is already a survivor. So any of you that are out there, they're dealing with illnesses, that are dealing with cancer, you are surviving cancer. You are not a cancer patient. You are a patient that is surviving cancer, or that's battling cancer, whatever is the more empowering way to say that. Just like a family member, my loved one is surviving, is battling, is managing the chronic illness or feeling in the body. So these are little tweaks, but they mean so much because they're so much more empowering for the person. Similar to that would be fault. It's my fault. That's my fault. This is my fault. Versus, I played a part in that and I take responsibility. Which one sounds more empowering? So the words that you use set the tone for the conversation that comes after. I expected more from that person. Oh, my clients and I have had this conversation, especially in the last month or so. It has come up again and again in different situations. I expected more from. Well, my first thought that always comes up is, why are you expecting anything? We know ourselves, we know who we are, but we can't put our expectations on other people. We can't expect somebody to be or do something because we're not them and we're not in control of them. The only thing that we have control of is our response to situations. So when you say something like, I expected more from that person, there's a big tone of judgment there too. Whether you're right, wrong, or indifferent, who are you to judge? You can observe, you can make a note, you can, okay, so here's a real life experience. Somebody can be late to anything and everything they always go to. And you can say, I expected you to be on time. Well, did you really? Because if you know that person and you love and accept them for who they are, then you know that time isn't as important to them as it is to you. So by expecting that person to be more like you now are setting them up for failure. And that's not what we should be doing. We should be setting each other up for success, identifying what are the strong suits in different people and working to their strengths, supporting them to their strengths. So your actions are going to speak so much, so powerful, depending on what you say and how you're responding and the tone that you're putting out there. So if you're saying, I expected more from myself, but I ended up going out the other night, even though I shouldn't have, or like the other night when I stayed up till 3 watching a certain Netflix new show. Maybe I'll share that in the comments. But I did something and I was tired the next day. Somebody could have said I expected more from her. Or, wow, she had fun and she's a little kooky sometimes. Yeah. Some people will say they want to live a certain way, but then they go out and they do things that are completely the opposite. What is the feeling behind behind those words that they used? How they described how they want to live? Did you feel it? Because you should be able to feel somebody coming through their word. Like there should be meaning behind it. And if there isn't, then aren't those empty words and empty intentions? So when you say, I'm going to be on time, I promise you, you better be on time. Because we only have our word, our promise to people, our integrity. And that's part of this. So you can see that the power of words can go off in so many different directions. The power of the word and the actions, are they aligned? The power of the word and the intentions, thinking of affirmations. When we're not feeling really good, and a lot of coaches, a lot of people, a lot of programs will say, well, just repeat the affirmation. I am powerful, or I am strong. I am whatever it is. But if you're not feeling it and you're not believing it, your heart knows the difference. It knows the difference. So sometimes we have to back up. So if the affirmation is, I am abundant, and you're looking around and you're like, no, I'm not, that affirmation's not going to work for you. So then you're going to back up a bit and you're going to say, and sometimes I'll change it to from I am to I love. I love looking around and seeing so much space or so many things I love. Walk up to what you do have, what you can celebrate, what you can feel, and what is true. Because when you can do that and you can feel it, then you can start moving up to whatever the affirmation is that you want to get to. But sometimes we have to stack it, and sometimes we have to build ourselves up to that. And I'm short, so I'm all about, having to build up it, whether I'm using a step stool or or something. You got to stack it. So I think I could branch into a bunch of different conversations, and we probably have so much more to talk about. The key that I want you to remember is there's power in your words. The more negative words you use, the more negative things are going to be. The more positive you're going to be. Sometimes words can have a negative feeling like allow and a positive feeling like allow. And it's all about where your heart is. What is your meaning behind it? And what is your intention? And does the meaning and the intention come through in the action that you're now taking, depending on what those words are? So the bottom line is that you got to be present. You got to be mindful. You got to be present. Because if you're doing more than one thing at a time and you're talking, whether you're on a meeting and you're kind of multitasking, you're not in the moment, and you might say something, most likely you will, that you didn't mean. Or because you're multitasking, whatever it is you're saying, even if it's the right thing, is not going to come across the same way because you're not putting your feeling behind it. You're not putting the action behind it of actually being in the moment. So be present, be mindful. I have a free resource that is all about words. And all you have to do is go visit my website, mokshagrace.com. And I will email it out to those that subscribe to the email and to the newsletter. And it's really powerful when you take a look at it and you start implementing the changes. And I'll give you a tip. Throw out the word try. Throw out the word try. You're either doing or you're not doing. But trying, excuse my language, is a bit half-assed. You got to be on one side or the other. You make the decision. So that's one of the words that I tell everyone to give up. Don't try to give it up. Give it up. All right. So I will see you next Wednesday. Thank you for being here. Thank yourself for being here. And remember that every day can either be really good or not so great. We all have choices, and you are in control of the choices that you make every day. So make it a good one. And I'll see you next week.